Alright, hello everyone, welcome to Fridays at 4 on twitch.tv/DDOstream. I'm your community manager, Cordova, and I've got a bit of news. I'm going to be heading to Lamania in just a minute to show off a thing that'll be arriving next week. Lamania is open with our first preview of Update 71 this week. We have an exciting weekend in terms of XP, working on some extra life stuff, and I'll have a little bit more about the couple of weeks ahead here. So how are you doing on this Friday afternoon? Hope I'm coming through okay. Hope everyone can hear and see me okie dokie. There you go. Alright, well, welcome everyone. Let me take a quick look at our schedule here, and then I'm going to get into just a little bit of news. So, as you know, we next week are going to be launching our Black Friday sales. We'll have more information on that probably something like Wednesday afternoon. Stay tuned for an announcement across all the things. In many ways, it'll be a Black Friday similar to what you've experienced. So if you keep an eye on our deals, you'll know a little bit about what to expect. But if you don't keep an eye on our deals, we have some of our deepest discounts of the year that are going to be kicking off next week, run through the weekend. And we typically do sales quite a bit in December as well. So, stay tuned on our website. Keep an eye on our social media. There's going to be a lot of good stuff on discount here over the coming weeks. Oh, did they just end right now, Titan? Yeah, I know that we're going on, Fridays of that now. So, there we go. Yes, I guess Lamania is just on its way to closing. But it's been open through most of the week. I am not permitted, Titan, as you well know, to announce when our sales are going to happen, so I can't give you personally a heads up as to when Autos boxes may be here either. Sorry. Alright. The thing we do have going on next week, though, besides our Black Friday sales, is our next Year of the Dragon. Starting on Wednesday, you are going to get your pick of the Dragon's Lair. So let me head in game and I'll show you what you can get. Alright, this is on Lamania right now. I'm on my admin character, so that's why I get to do all the things. Even if you don't, sorry, Titan. I'm on Lamania, I don't know what your problem is. No, I'm kidding. Alright. It's closed to the public. Anyway, this is what's going to be arriving next week when you speak to... I'm going to actually lock down with the QA team the exact process, but my belief would be just like years past. You'll speak to Zatharol to get it, or months past, you'll speak to Zatharol to get it added to your account, and then you will speak to Estrez to get the thing. And the thing you're going to get is the Pick of the Dragon's Lair. As you can see, it is bound to account as a package item, so if you need to send it to an alt for whatever reason, you can. And then when you click on the Pick of the Dragon's Lair, you're going to get a list here of things that you can acquire. We have got 5,000 Sentient XP, the Master's Gift Augment, the Epic Voice of the Master, the Heroic Dragon Eyes, Legendary Dragon Eyes, Perfected Helm of the Red Dragon, 30 Fire or Shadow Dragon Phlogistons, 20 Commendations of Heroism, or the Silver Dragon Scale Helm. That is in this pick. And what do I have? The Epic Voice of the Master, remember, is mid-level 20. The Augment is level 1. Dragon Eyes, the Heroic is mid-level 10. The Legendary is mid-level 28. Perfected Helm is mid-level 30. And the Silver Dragon Scale Helm is mid-level 29. And a few of these I've got up. So the Silver Dragon Scale Helm is 21 accuracy, 11 deadly, brilliant silver scales. It's a pretty good helm. And it is nearly finished as well if you would choose to want to do that extra work on that. The Perfected Helm of the Red Dragon, I should note, is an artifact. So, okay, that's something to consider. But it gets you strength, Magma Surge Guard. I'm pretty sure I actually have a character with one of these already that I'm using, but I'm not sure. Not sure exactly who that is. What do I not have in my inventory here? Most of it, I think. But Dragon Eyes is Breath, Weapon Focus 3, Quality Charisma 1, Blindness Immunity, Insightful Reflex 3, and does have a blue augment in it. And what am I missing here from the list? Well, I just picked that. I got the Silver Dragon Scale, Got the helm. Do I have legendary dragon eyes? Yeah, that's the heroic dragon eyes. I don't have the legendary, so why don't we pick the legendary dragon eyes and take a look at that. Make sure you can see on my screen here. Alright, you can. And this is the mid-level 28 version of the legendary dragon eyes. So, you're going to have a month to collect this item, of course, as part of the Year Dragon, but of course you are going to want to do that. You don't want to miss out. You don't want to miss out. Get your stuff. Get your stuff. Alright, now that that's done, let me get into just a little bit of other news, and I will take a look at chat here in just a second as well. So, the other thing I would mention is that we are targeting December for Update 71. We'll have more information about its exact release time before we actually go live with it. But we're looking at December to have Update 71 be our final update of the year. There is work underway, a little bit on the producer's letter, but not much, frankly, because what we've mostly been focused on these past few weeks is our 32-bit game worlds and Cormier. So we've been doing a lot of work, including a big update this week that matters. So let me real quick change scenes. And do a little bit of a call out of our release notes that just went live on Wednesday of this week. The main thing is this first bullet point. There's some experimental physics optimizations that are aimed at mitigating some of the largest sources of game performance degradation seen in recent weeks. And we have been working since Wednesday to further fine-tune those things. What this basically gives us is, they're not actually levers, but it gives us granular control over some aspects of limits on, say, detections and physics and things like that. I can't get into too much detail there, but it's giving us an opportunity to fine-tune the experience, and along with it came a bunch of fixes to things related to, recent lag that we've seen. So, we've been doing some work. We had, Cormier brought down again this morning from like 9 to 11 to do some further work. But we're heading into the weekend here with a keen eye toward how things go. We've done a ton of work in the past couple of weeks. A lot of that got deployed here on Wednesday. And we're looking to see, what we have left to do. And fingers crossed, of course, that everything's great. But we'll see, won't we? So over the course of the weekend here, we will be keeping a pretty close eye on the forums and website, Discord, our Reddit, other places as well that we keep an eye on, Facebook, Twitter, X, whatever. And we'll see how things go. But we did a lot of work this week on it, and hopefully we're going to start seeing some dividends related to that. The other big thing that's happened this week is really a lot of work that went on behind the scenes to identify and return a ton of creature companions that went missing during a window on Cormier, where people who had already acquired their creature companions or mounts found them no longer in their account. And because the way the system was set up, it has been an ordeal. But the ordeal is, we've got light at the end of the tunnel here, which is that a ton of these creature companions, pets, mounts, tricks should all be back as of this week's update. And then the stuff that is left over, we're still working on. So that would be the Year of the Dragon, Horde of Discovery, Snowy Owlbear, and Tan-Striped Pseudo-Dragon, and you can see the full list there. The Reaperling is another big one. Creature companions and mounts purchased from the current version of the DDO store, things like that. We're looking at what we can do programmatically and what we're going to have to do manually. Most of what you're seeing here can probably be done programmatically with special scripting and things like that we'll try to have into the next game update, something like that. And then a few bits, there may be a few creature companions that it'll just be a lot easier for you to submit a ticket to CS, and they'll get you your thing back. They've already got a ton of tickets already, so a lot of people have already submitted those tickets. But if you want to, if you see something on this list and you don't want to wait, you can get into the queue as well by submitting a ticket. What they will probably do is send you a thing saying, "Hey, we're working on it, and in the near future we'll be back in touch." And it'll either be solved programmatically with the game update, or maybe there may be a few where it's just like, "Well, we only got 50 here. Really, we're only talking about like, 50. We can just have someone deal with that." So, we'll see. But that's where we sit here today. And in terms of the update, we're heading into what could be a very positive weekend for the game. Fingers crossed, both on the 32-bit Game Worlds and Cormier. Much of the work we're doing is on Cormier, but much of the work that has been done affects all the Game Worlds besides just Cormier. All right. Other big bit is we do have a pretty good XP weekend hitting. So if you're into running quests with friends that you actually have or friends that you've created, whatever you want to do, DDO Bonus Days is bringing you a Buddy Boost weekend. Get 10% XP for every member in your party, not raid group, through November 24th. So you can get up to 50% through Sunday. And that's some pretty good questing XP here happening right now. So perhaps you'll want to take advantage of that. Otherwise, in terms of news, I think that pretty well covers it. So let me take a get in game and... Oh, actually, let me fire up the client and take a look at some chat. I'm going to be going live on Cormier here in just a minute. Yes, imaginary friends count. Unfortunately, the game is really good at detecting it, and it rewards you a commensurate amount of imaginary bonus XP. So, your imaginary friends are earning imaginary bonus XP for you. Unfortunately, it's not tracked on the character sheet, nor does it count toward character progression. I have not heard of Snow Peaks' release date yet. I would expect that to be in January. That's usually when we release Snow Peaks. Festival will kick off in early December. Timing TBD. My guess would be, since the new cookies are going to be in the game update, it'll probably be with the start of the next game update that the cookies will start being distributed, and then usually the Jester Festival arrives the week before that. Or no, that's not true. The coins start dropping the week before that. The opposite of what I just said. The coins start dropping the week before, and then the Jester shows up. Yeah, so the especially right now, we got eyes on the Discord, we got eyes on the forums, and please do report your experiences, hopefully positive, but whatever it is, throughout the weekend here on the forums. The Stormcloud Mount, yep, that one's coming up here pretty soon. I will have more information on the distribution of the Dragon's Horde item, unless we already said something. Let me see. Let me see if we already said something. That's a good question, whether it's just a one-time delivery or one per server delivery. I don't want to guess. Limited to one per account, according to our webpage. Claim on your preferred server. So, you get one on your server of choice. And that's what I would expect for that too. But that is what we're doing. Alright, what am I doing? I am in-game. So, last week, I didn't do so good. I got raffle stomped. Trying to do, Isle of... or, Delaras on Elite. My wimpy little first lifer here. So, I think I need to Hold my britches slightly. Actually, I got the part 5 quest done. It's just when I bumped up to that level 7 one, and I was level, what, 6 at the time. Eve. I don't know how many slots the Perfected Helm has. It'll be whatever's in the wiki. Hello, Wartuska. R.I.P. Memoirs of an Illusory Larcener. This is true. So we had a couple weeks back, we were forced to pull Memoirs of an Illusory Larcener. You may recall that Tolero has talked about how we have a lot more granular control these days, and able to see, now that we have our 64-bit worlds, some of the other sources of game performance issues that have been, you know, a thing for, what, a couple days now, right? We've had lag for a couple of days. Anyway, so one of the things we discovered, sadly, is that that weird quest that was never quite right is in fact not quite right in an unsustainable way, and has to be closed. We looked at the feasibility of, say, rebuilding it from the ground up, which is sadly what is required in order to achieve a fix for the performance issue on it. And I can explain why in just a second, but regardless, there's no fixing it. So the fix would be to redo it from the ground up. And because of the kind of weirdness inherent in that quest, it has not been, it's just not feasible to do. We could, at the expense of something else that we want to do, whether that's you know, a new quest in a quest pack, or a new free quest, or whatever we end up wanting to do, right? So I think ultimately what we're going to do is we're going to move the loot into other quests. That'll be an option. I believe specifically I have heard that we are looking at Mask of Deception as the place to put the old Memoirs of an Illusory Larcener loot. And sadly, that quest is going to have to be closed for now. Maybe at some point someone will get a hankering to fix it up or whatever, and we'll rebuild it from the ground up. But fundamentally, that quest was made during a somewhat unusual time in the game's development. It was really kind of a slow period, you know, before we became Standing Stone Games. Just a little bit before, right? And it was a very experimental dungeon in its conception. I remember when, unfortunately I can't say his name because I can't remember what his forum handle was. But I remember the developer who made that quest. I was there when it was getting made. And the idea was that if it would work, and it seemed to work, you know, one of those things worked great in testing, not so much in execution, but great in testing. Instead of teleporting you around, say, a world-built space, right? So you figure you got a quest, as you've seen during the making of that, perhaps Nobob did in that, we have in our world builder these kind of large open areas that are becoming the instance spaces for the maps. And so when you teleport to different areas, you're teleporting to a different section of the map, presumably that's a self-enclosed built space for the dungeon. And the idea of Memoirs of an Illusory Larcener was, what if we flip that around? So that rather than having to have a party or person teleport around the map, what if the sort of physics of that map could teleport to you? And this could create a thing perhaps in the future related to, like, I don't know, someone wants to turn a space from a dungeon into the sky, or someone wants to have the walls start writhing with snakes or whatever it might be, right? That was the idea back when it was conceptually done, and this was a free quest test bed of that idea from back in the day. And, you know, as a theory, it worked out pretty good, but what we found in practice, of course, is with the heavily communicative nature of the DDO live game world combined with the live game, you know, just the way things work in the live game. Timing was always an issue. Things not populating was always an issue. You being kind of teleporting inside of something became kind of a perennial issue with that quest. And ultimately, what we've determined is that it causes enough physics problems that, because especially it is simply a one-off, you know, because this is literally the only quest that does this, that the performance gains are just too important, especially right now. And so that's what we're doing instead, is we're closing down Memoirs of an Illusory Larcener. But it's not because we don't like the quest. I mean, it's a really cool quest. I think it's become popular for a lot of TR grinds because people have gotten real good at moving it through it real quick if you're into that kind of gameplay. And so, you know, I know that we've seen quite a bit of feedback in recent days since it was announced on the Mania about sadness about it going away, and that's understood. We never want to lose a free quest. We never want to get rid of anyone's creative work. I mean, the few times throughout the game's history that we've ever ditched an area permanently has pretty much just been a few bits from when the game launched in 2006. Cerulean was very different. There's a few other spaces that were very, very different. There was some parts of Searing Heights that have gone away for good from over the years. And there was a lot of the Korthos Island quests were completely redone for the Korthos experience. And so some elements of those quests, along with the old starter experience, are no longer available either. But for the most part, we don't really do this too much, except that after some real kind of hard decision making, we decided we had to do it for Memoirs here. That does not say it's a bad quest. We love you, Memoirs of an Illusory Larcener. There is nothing wrong with you. You were perfectly valid, just as you are. But we need you to go away for a little while because you're wrecking stinking up the place for everyone else. Is the Lanterns in the Mist event going to be going on for a while? All I can really state about its release date at this moment is that we have pledged to keep it available through the end of the year. I expect it to go longer than that, but we'll have more information on timing, I think, in 2025 as we start to look at what we do next for Cormyr. You know, this is a seasonal event. It will end eventually. But you still have plenty of time to get things done. And, yeah. So at least through the end of the year, I can pledge on our behalf. Anything beyond that, we'll let you know. But it's not going to be like January 4th or anything. It'll be longer than that. So it's going to be a while. Really, we want to get, as long as people are interested in running it, as long as it's, you know, driving logins and people are excited and earning things and all that, we don't really have any plans to get rid of it, because, you know, why? But eventually we're going to move on to other things. So. And we'll make sure we give people plenty of notification. Something like 30 days. Something like that. It would be my expectation. Will there be a redux on Night Revels this year? I have not heard of any plans to do so. We actually did have Night Revels an extra week or so longer than usual this year because of there were some issues for a couple of days there, especially towards the kind of start to middle part. And so it was available through November 10th here, and just recently got shut off. Oh, alright. Well, I'm not battling you on the... Or am I? There you are. But no, I have not heard of any plans to do a Night Revels return. Certainly not this year. It's possible. Like, sometimes we like to bring it back in the summer. I've seen us do. So, I mean, we do bring it back occasionally. But I don't know if, certainly not for the remainder of this year. Yeah, Dragon Disciple is Monk, and that'll be getting a preview, I don't know when, pretty soon. Pretty soon, probably sometime in December, early January, something like that. I will have to... Sorry, I'm going to look at chat here in a second. I assume the answer is that the systems team, or the content creation team, knows more about the answer to this question than I do. But, any chance they will make Mask have Reaper scaling then, since we won't be able to get Reaper versions of the items in Mask? That's a good question. I would need to refresh my memory about why Mask of Deception isn't on Reaper mode. Yeah, I don't know. I will have to look that one up. I guess I'm not personally aware why Mask of Deception would not be allowed for Reaper mode, unless there's some kind of way that you could super bot it or just do basically nothing and win. But I don't think that's the case. Okay. So, Mirdaros asks, with the retiring of the Memoirs of an Illusory Larcener quest, do we retain the favor if we have earned it, or does the favor for the quest get removed? In this case, because, well, there's no easy and happy solution to this question, is ultimately the answer. And that is, we either make it so that you get it and no one else can ever get it, or we make it that you lose it. And in either case, we've got about 50% of the audience telling us we're jerks. So, it's gonna, I think, have to be a judgment call. What is it right now is the answer, because it's gonna be probably whatever it is right now. If you lost favor, then... Well, no, you're right, because it's on Bulwark, so it'll be with update 71. I will double check. I don't know the answer. It depends on how it's done. So typically, if it's deleted, then it's lost. And if it's just shut down, then it's retained. But then that's a problem for everyone, both now and in the future, who never got it. Is they're always going to be able to have more favor than everyone else, and that tends to get just as vociferous complaints. So, thankfully, you can still hit the top of free agent regardless. But if we did, what we'll probably end up doing is just, you know what? I have actually heard, I believe it was Tolero on the Discord mentioned that what we are probably going to do is put that favor somewhere else. And if that's the case, then that would be probably my assumption, is that due to the nature of the fix, we have to remove it rather than just sort of shutter it. Put a permanent close sign on it. And so that's probably is what's going to happen there. It'll be in the release notes ultimately. Another lantern, huh? Oh no, different quest. Right. So I think the main challenge to, quote, redoing Memoirs is that it already, you know, it's such a, its plot and the way it unfolds is so directly tied to the problematic mechanic at hand that trying to unravel it is so it's not just really a couple of bar fights is a real challenge there, isn't it? So. All right. So no, this is an earlier chat question. The plan is not to give it the black lock treatment, but to shutter it. Mostly because the black lock treatment, which was basically, some developer mostly went in there, redid a lot of the physics and logic in there, and fixed up lighting issues that on the boat area that were too numerous for the game engine, and some other bits like that. This would be a complete rebuild of the space. You know, think about it. If what made that quest different was all the bits teleport to you, well, then you can't. There's no room space where all those bits are. You know what I mean? So you're really looking at just rebuilding the whole thing. It's been too long since I've run Mask of Deception, but can't you just fight everything? You don't need the mask part. Isn't the mask part optional? If I recall? You don't like fail the quest. You just sort of have to fight it with the mask off. And if that's all you have to do in order to get the Reaper stuff, well, fine. Do that then. Or maybe there's something I'm just like fundamentally not picking up from. Also, where did I put my last lever? There you are. So it actually does have Reaper, and it can be run. You just can't do it and complete the optional. That's the actual. Unless I'm mistaken. That's what I'm actually hearing. I really love the name Hammer Fist the Mighty. I think it's a really classic name. It's a power name. It's a name that says, hey, I'm going somewhere. Nothing new on the Bottle of Mist that I'm aware of. Yeah, I mean, the name Hammer Fist, it's just got a good ring to it. I can see it getting reused. I can see that. Why not? The thing is, you can't. Well, I mean, I think there are ways you could, in theory, up the quest of, or up the favor on every other quest to match it, but you're really. The thing about favor is it's really tied generally to other aspects of the dungeon, and it's auto programmatically done. Oh, I must have missed one, huh? Okay. So you're better off just assigning it to a future quest. Oh, I lost my cleric. Well, here we go. Kenneth Crafting, I would imagine at some point here we'll get an update for the new level cap. That's something that's not wasn't planned with part of the original level cap increase, but it's something I would expect to see us do in the future at some point. No ETA to announce. The new starter pack is you buy it, you get one. That's the easiest way I could say it. You buy the starter pack every time you want one, and you can buy it as many times as you want. And it's a pretty good deal. Or so I am told. Actually, I'm going the wrong way, am I not? I don't need to do this. Severlin, our executive producer, has often extolled his personal fondness for the Githyanki, so you know, could happen sometime. Right. I have to say, at least as of this afternoon, things not looking they're playing pretty good here on Cormyr, if I do say so myself. Experience today is not bad. I have to admit, the amount of time I have been able to play the game has been so slow in recent weeks. And it's because of things happening in my regular life, but also because I am doing a bunch of work for work in the evening for all of this lag stuff we all have. But also, I've been doing a bunch of Extra Life stuff. And so I want to take a minute to kind of update on everything I've got going on Extra Life. On the DDO side, I have all but I think I saw something about a half dozen new surveys come in since the last time I did distributions on the DDO side, but just about everyone on the DDO side has their stuff, or should have their stuff, for Extra Life. So if you haven't filled out the survey yet, you have plenty of time. I'll be doing the group incentive giveaways after November 30th, so you have some time, week or something, if you want to be in on the giveaways. But if you don't, or if you think about it and it's December, or if you think about it and it's February of 2025, that's fine too. Get me your selections and I will get them to you the best I can. But if you haven't heard from me, and you didn't submit, let's just say, a survey within the past week or so, hit me up and I'll make sure you get your stuff. I think the main hang-up, as it were, Blade Edge, to offering the Bottle of Mist is it's going to take some not insignificant engineering and development time in order to detach the Bottle of Mist from the purchase of the Ultimate Edition of Ravenloft. So, and we do want to do that work, but our priority has been game performance and lag since Cormier launched. That has absolutely been our top priority. Hopefully you recognize that. And, you know, we've been seeing a bunch of work done. But there is nothing else that has been a higher priority than that. And that means things like Bottle of Mist. No chance. No chance that can be looked at right now. So... You know, we keep going back and forth on that. I hear that. I hear that argument that if we just put the whole X-Pack back, we'd make a bunch of money. Unfortunately, there are technical reasons why the old deprecated X-Pack and the delivery infrastructure from which it came from is no longer exists under the new store infrastructure. So what we would be doing is having to redo the process to engineer the delivery part as well for a new infrastructure, which is going to basically fundamentally mess up a whole bunch of things related to delivery of existing customers of the Mists of Ravenloft bundle and that. You could try to separate it out, although it would then mean people could get a second of a thing, or some other things like that. And so there are problems with bringing it back. We can't just publish it. It would not work. So we either do a huge amount of work for an unknown amount of benefit. People would like to say that after all this time they'd still pay $130 just to get the Bottle of Mist. But would they really? And in what quantity? You know, that kind of thing. Or we should probably do a more permanent solution, which is create the infrastructure that allows us to take out items, teleportation items and such from these expansions, and then be able to offer those through another mechanism longer term. So really that's kind of, I think, where the Bottle of Mist sits. Is either way, it's a bunch of work. It's work we want to do. Its priority has to be weighed against other priorities, and there are just other priorities that are far more significant at the moment for us. Is there a reason we could create any incentives for private PvP arenas? I don't know that there would be enough interest in such a thing to justify the work, but if, let's just say that there were, I think, yeah, we could probably figure out some way to incentivize the use of the PvP arena system. I think the biggest challenge you're going to have in any kind of arena reward system, not that you couldn't deal with it, but it's something you would need to sort of process and resolve, which is that it can't be based on any kind of achievement that could be earned by someone basically multi-boxing their own character and just defeating each other over and over and over again, which seems like it might be a more likely scenario. You also couldn't do it based on number of matches completed. You know, you couldn't... There's a whole bunch of things you couldn't do. And I'm sure you could find something you could do. But... for, you know, given the usage rate of our PvP arenas currently, or PvP in general in this game, I think there's a pretty solid question of if it's going to take more than X amount of work, perhaps we have to do other things instead. So a winner of a 1v1 fight will get a stack of sentient XP. Oh, wouldn't that be great? You just get your alt in, kill them over and over, and stack up free sentient XP. That'd be awesome. That wouldn't be a problem at all. Wouldn't it be easier to make a new teleportation item to then? Yes. As a matter of fact, that is the other path forward. That is another path forward. That is another possibility. The current... Well, let me... I don't know how much I have to be careful what I say. I don't want to give out, you know, bad information or too much information. But, for example, that assumes that the teleportation system on the guild airship isn't intrinsically connected to checking account ownership tokens on the account. So, for example, it would have to be able to teleport you to teleporters that weren't connected to purchases of X-Packs. And that could be done, but the kind of logic and flow and work associated with that isn't insignificant either. So, you know, you could do that. Now that idea I kind of like. In PvP, you could actually feed someone else's soul stone to your sentient weapon as like at the end of the match, they got the soul stone sitting there. You can pick them up and crunch them into your sentient weapon. That's a cool idea. Although again, you know, you would just kill yourself over and over, and there you go. But conceptually, it's a really cool idea. I like it. So, here is one of the larger roadblocks of the idea of offering the DPS test kobolds on airships, besides a whole bunch of engineering and other work that would need to be done. I think we all recognize that the test dojo is not the most performant space in the world. And that's okay, because it's on Lamania. But, having all those DPS test kobolds and all those guild airships would not really be... It just isn't going to work. It wouldn't work. It would be such a bad experience. And so I think what we would have to do is do a much larger series of work about making performant DPS test kobolds. But remember, these were never actually meant to be public-facing. Back in the day, they were literally just 5 minutes... Well, a little more than that. X amount of work by some developer for personal use, and they just sort of eventually ended up in the test dojo. But they weren't made with a live game environment in mind. So I think that that's probably been the largest hang up on that one. Is that just like many things, yeah, you can do it, but at what cost? And what are you going to do? What are you going to get rid of instead? Here's our plans for 2025. You let me know which 2 things you don't want done, you know? And also, I'd like to see some justification as to why it's more important than the thing you want to get rid of.
You have found the mouth of Splinter Skull. The shouts of hobgoblins echo from within.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree, Axel. I think you would have to create some kind of almost what do they call it? Like a bracket, some kind of bracket system. And the award would happen only after so many unique players participated in the bracket, perhaps, and then did work like that. It would be a complete redesign and probably blow up the system in a pretty big way. But that's, I think, how you could do it, is if you awarded something only based upon time-based completion rather than personal achievement. And you'd have to solve the problem of alt accounts. Or multi-boxing. Or just somehow prevent multi-boxing in PvP arenas, but I can't imagine the amount of work to get that done would be in any way justifiable. I don't know, maybe. I'm not a developer. Oh, let me see if I can get my Silver Flame hymnal. No.
The portcullis cannot be opened here. There must be levers to control it nearby.
Yes, I'm not going to go through my memoirs talk, Valkyria, sorry. You can see the archive later. I went into detail about what its issues were, what the solutions were, and why we achieved, or reached the place we are now. I mean, it's true. All software development is project management in some ways, isn't it? Especially in a creative software effort. Your imagination will always outpace your ability to create. And then you add the imagination of all of the players on top of that. And you end up having to always live in a world of hard decisions regarding what you move forward on and what you don't. So Titan, I think you're asking about some kind of, let's just say, future selector box, which would be made up of blank, heroic, and legendary crafted weapons, like Green Steel or Thunderforge. So your idea would be basically some kind of picker box, where you could get all the base weapons so you don't have to worry about it. Yeah, I think we could do something like that in the future. We couldn't do crafted weapons, though, because most of the way those systems work are not going to interface well with that kind of distribution method. But you could do the base items, I would think. Although I also think there may be some... It would depend on the system. But I think in general it's not the base items that are particularly hard to get. It's usually other stuff. Alright. Groovy. Well, I think that's probably going to wrap it up for today. Gosh, I don't know, Chief Visigoth. I guess I would have to dig further into why Legendary Greensteel has never been able to make it to the Guild airship crafting. I have to assume there's a reason for it, and if not, then I think that that's a very good question. Why don't we? Perhaps some work just needs to be done there. I'll write that one down. Do a little digging. Maybe not today. It's been a busy couple of weeks for everyone. I don't know how welcome a bug on Legendary Greensteel Guild airship crafting would be on this Friday at 5 p.m. But yeah, that sounds like not a bad idea to look into and see what's up with. So. All right. Well, I think that is going to wrap it up for the show. Just a quick note that because next Friday is a day off for most people, including this guy, probably won't be here next Friday unless I get a bug or interest in just doing it all of a sudden on my own time. But I'll probably see you in 2 weeks here on twitch.tv/DidioStream. We do have shows all weekend long. You can find our full schedule over on the Twitch channel. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you so much for watching. Give us a like if you would. That'll help spread the word to other people into Dungeons & Dragons stuff on YouTube. And if you subscribe to our videos, you'll get them in your subscription feed. Much appreciated, and I'll talk to y'all again soon. Bye-bye.